Hey everybody, how is it going today? Well, in this video, I wanted to do an update on Nano Dimensions, Workhorse, and a few others. Plus, I wanted to touch base on the continuation of the divergence of the market indices, because if that continues, we could be in the beginning stages of a major leadership shift in the overall markets. Then I wanted to show you how I identify the strength of a trend. So if you're not sure how to do that, make sure you stick around for that as well. Now, before I get into it, if you are new to the channel, I like to find short-term and long-term trading and investing opportunities in typically lower-priced stocks. I like to find undervalued, underappreciated stocks with high growth potential and talk about all other things finance-related as well. If that's something that interests you, please consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any future trading or investing ideas. And remember, I am not a financial advisor, so please do all of your own research before buying any of these stocks. All right, well, let's get right into the charts here. The first one we are going to look at is the QQQ, which is the ETF of the NASDAQ, in case you didn't know. And as we can see, the QQQ peeked its head above this triangle consolidation I have drawn on the chart, but it has fallen back into it. So this is very interesting as far as the market is going right now. Normally, the NASDAQ is the leader, but if we look at the diamonds, which is the Dow Jones Industrial Average ETF, we can see that the diamond is still above resistance. So now this resistance is becoming support, and if we zoom in, see that's exactly what it's doing. It's supporting the ETF at the moment. But and if we go to the spider, which is the other one, we can see it's peeked its head right back below the resistance level just for the moment, but it actually is still pretty strong, and especially strong compared to the NASDAQ. So the big question is the NASDAQ lagging these two, or is the NASDAQ leading, and are the other two going to pull back? So this is the question that we need to ask ourselves right now. If I had to guess, I think that the other two are leading the NASDAQ, and the NASDAQ is going to get pulled back up. But this is a very interesting transition if this keeps up. That means this rotation into less risky stocks, like in the Dow Jones Industrial Average and in the S&P 500, has started. Now, this could be temporary, and the NASDAQ could get stronger again quite easily. Like, say, if some great news comes out on some of the big NASDAQ stocks, that could easily pull the NASDAQ back ahead of those other two averages. But this is something that we need to keep a close eye on, because if the NASDAQ is losing its leadership, that's usually very typical when a market starts to get weak. Usually the NASDAQ will get weak first. Now, it's a little too early to be calling it just yet, but I do find that to be the most interesting thing happening in the markets at the moment. Perhaps it's just a little wacky now because we still have the aftermath of the election, but it's definitely something I want to keep a sharp eye on for the next week or two for sure. But a couple of stocks that I wanted to go over real quick. I wanted to go over Nano Dimensions yesterday, and I completely spaced it, but since I actually don't own any position in it, but I know a lot of people out there do, and it's a very interesting stock to be watching. And I might be buying into it before long, so I like to keep a sharp eye on it every single day. But one of the things that I wanted to show you guys is, if you break down the hourly chart, I wanted to point out how this trend has been developing. I don't know if I went over how the trends develop very much in my other videos, but there's three types of trends. You know, you got your regular trends where it kind of pops above resistance, pulls back into a support area, and then resumes its way up. The trend that is going on right now in Nano Dimensions, or was going on, was a very weak trend. When this came down here, I wanted to point it out to you guys, and I totally forgot about it because I am not in the stock, so it's not at the front of my mind when I'm thinking about stocks. But when you get these fast moves down, I wanted to tell you guys when it was right around here, but when we get these fast moves down and you start getting a weak trend, a weak counter trend going the other way,
most of the time you are going to get another fast move down once the market resumes. You know, this is only logical. If you get a heavy sell down or a heavy move up, like if the stock moves up heavy, and like here, this is kind of one right here. If I zoom in just a little bit, let me see if I can bring it in. But this was a very nice looking one. That's why I wanted to point that one out, and I totally forgot about it. But when you get a fast move up and then you start to get a weak counter trend, and then it resumes its uptrend, chances are it's going to go up with the same velocity that it went up into it the first time. Especially if you get a counter trend where, you know, say it takes 5 to 6 days as it starts to pull back, and if it makes it to a new high within 2 or 3 days, that means it's stronger coming out of it. You know, this is only logical stuff that I'm talking about here. If it takes 6 days to come down and only takes 2 days to get right back up to a new high, obviously the buyers are in control and it is a strong market. Now let me see if I can get back to this other trend. So we had this weak counter trend, and once the trend resumed back down, it was another sharp move down. But right now we are actually in a very bullish trend right now. So we've made, let me see if I can get this. We've got a low, we got a higher low, and then we got another high. And if it pulls down into this support area, I would like to see it come down just a, with these lower price stocks, these moves down into support or above into resistance can be a very long move. So sometimes it is harder to make it all the way to those areas. But if it comes down to this area, and you can see we also got the 50 period simple moving average moving up into that, the 200 simple moving average moving up into that. If it pulls back into this area right here and makes another strong candle up, that means this trend is probably going to explode higher. And it's, like I said, this is only logical stuff. You start making higher lows, and then you break into newer high ground. You have that pullback, and then you have, it looks like the trend is going to resume back up. Chances are you are going to get a sharp move out of it. So this is one that I'm definitely keeping an eye on. I would love to see that play out, and then maybe I could finally get a comfortable entry into Nano Dimensions. This thing has been a fast mover. Any of you guys that are holding this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But let me get this stuff off the chart real quick. Another stock that a lot of people are watching is Workhorse. And as we can see, Workhorse is doing the same exact thing. Now let's go to the daily chart real quick and I'll come right back. We can see we've had this fast move down, and we are starting to get a weak counter trend the other way. Now, Workhorse has some other things going for it right now because it did come down to this support level that we had drawn on here before, and that's where it found support and it started to move up. So if the stock is going to resume this trend down, it's going to have to break through this very strong support area. You see, it couldn't get through it that first time, so that is an obstacle if you are thinking of getting short this one. But I know a lot of people are long this one, and probably a lot of people don't want to hear this, but I'm just trying to tell you guys what I see, and just because I'm seeing this doesn't mean it's going to play out exactly like that. I'm just trying to teach you guys a little bit how these counter trends work. And as we can see, Workhorse had that fast move down from the 30s all the way down into the teens, and now we got this weak trend going up. And how do you know it's weak? Because it breaks to a new high and then it falls back into it. Breaks to a new high and then it falls right back into it. If you had a strong trend like it did on the way down, once you break to a new low, what it'll do is find resistance at the previous support. So if I draw this, let me see if I can get this other line here. Okay, we can see, zoom in a little bit so we can see that 8-period exponential moving average is right in the way. But when it broke through this support, it came right back to it, touched the support that became resistance. Once it broke below it, fell back again. Pulled back up again into resistance, This was not a picture perfect one, but it broke right back down. You can see that this weak counter trend, just all you gotta do is keep pulling these support areas down, and this will tell you what kind of trend you have. If you have a strong trend either way, you know that you can stay in that trend until it becomes at risk of completing. And as long as it's breaking through to the downside, if it's breaking through support and it's pulling back up into these resistance areas and resuming the trend down, you are still in that downtrend. You can move this down again. You can see it again. Broke through support, right back to resistance, started again. Now what are we getting right here? Broke down through support, boom, touched it, did not make a new low, and it's back above it. Now we are starting a weak counter trend the other way. Now if I had to guess, it's probably, let me get this out of here, Workhorse is probably going to break lower. These don't always resolve down. Now what you want to look for when you're following these weak trends, they can resolve themselves in one of two fashions. They can either break down through this downtrend once they start forming that weak trend and continue the move lower, or if they break above it, when they come down, they will actually find support at that previous high. That will become support once it breaks above that resistance, and then it will start a fast trend just like it did here. Boom, breaks through it, comes back, touches it again. Boom, break through it, touches it again. You know, keep stair-stepping its way down. But I did want to point those things out to you guys because I don't know if I went over how to identify what kind of trends you are in at the moment or not. Let me get rid of that sucker. But Workhorse is making a weak counter trend at the moment. I know a lot of people out there are in this stock and a lot of people believe in this stock. I am currently out of the stock at the moment, but I am watching how this counter trend is going to play out. Now, hopefully for you guys that are in it, we get a move up, and then it comes down, touches the support, and then starts a new trend in the other direction going up. Just because you get this weak counter trend doesn't mean they always have to break down. But a lot of times that is how it plays out, and it's only logical. Like I said before, you get a lot of selling, and there is not very much buying coming in once the selling subsides. I mean, it's only logical to think that once selling starts again, it could be another fast move that way. Like here is a great example. When I did one of my earlier videos on Workhorse, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here. I did a video exactly when it was breaking to this new high, and as you could see, when the trend was starting to accelerate, boom, we got a low, higher low, higher low, higher low, boom, breaks to a new high, comes down and touches the old, oops, let me get that one out of here, touches the old resistance area. Oh shoot, I gotta go a little higher. Pretty much touches the old resistance area and starts resuming its new uptrend. Actually, that was the old resistance. Now that I zoomed out, I can't see it super well. But this was the old resistance line. Let me get this sucker out of here. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Boom. Broke through that resistance area, came back down, and this was right around the area that I remember entering the stock. But you could see the trend was starting to accelerate. Boom. Blasted through it, came back down, and touched the old resistance area, which became support. And you could tell once it did that, it held that and started to move higher, you were in another nice trend up. These are things you need to watch for, especially if you are trading in the short term. Watch for these higher lows, especially when you get these weak trends. Boom. Breaks into a newer higher, but breaks right back down into the consolidation. Newer high, right back down into the consolidation. Once you get a break above it, pulls back and stays above that old resistance area, does not break back below it again, you know that trend has a very good chance that it's picking up strength, and that becomes a higher probability trade. But that is something that I just wanted to point out to you guys real quick. I think Hyliion, if I'm not mistaken, is kind of making the same pattern. Like I've had Hyliion on my watch list and was coming down to this 200-day simple moving average, but I wanted to stay away from it just because of the election. But as we can see, that would have been a decent trade so far, not a slammer, but a decent one, because it just broke barely below that 200 and then quickly got right back above it. But if we go to the hourly chart, we can see that Hyliion is making kind of a weak counter trend. And I am very interested to see how this one resolves itself. You know, I know a lot of people out there are holding Hyliion, so I hope for their sake. Hyliion does break to a new high. But if I had to guess, if things stay the way they're going, it's probably going to break to another low. And just because these things break to another low, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. This is an intraday chart. So if you're trading short term, these can be great opportunities for you. But if you're long the stock for, you know, years and years, you don't really care about this short term stuff. I mean, you could buy puts in it. I don't even know if Hyliion has puts. I'm sure they probably do. I think it's optional, but you could buy puts, you know, and make a little money on the counter trends, you know, just to add money to your trading account. But if we go back just a little bit further, we can see when it started to accelerate. It was doing pretty much the same thing that Workhorse was doing when it was pulling out of this trend. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here. But you see we had a weak counter trend the other way. Let me zoom out a little bit more to get this to work. Maybe not. Anyway, come on. Anyway, if I could zoom this thing out a little bit, and now my whole stuff is froze. There we go. But we had this. It wasn't a super sharp move down. So when you get a move down like this that isn't super sharp, start watching for those counter trend moves, those lows getting higher. And what is up with my software? Come on, baby. Anyway, once you get these higher lows start coming into the market, into these weak trends, you got to watch for that acceleration. And let's see if I can get it to zoom back. And see, this one did not even come back down to support, so you knew that was strong. You could safely buy the breaks to the new highs when it doesn't even come down to these support levels. Then you know that trend is going to accelerate. Now I say you know it's going to accelerate. There is a very good chance. These things are not 100%, of course. Nothing is in the market. But I just wanted to point out to you guys how to identify some of these trends and the strength of these trends. But that is all I have for you guys today. I was gone for most of the day today, so I didn't have much time to put a whole video together. But I did want to show you guys a little bit about these trends. If you guys want to know more about how to identify trends, there's basically 3 trends in case you don't know. You know, you have your regular trends, you have your weak counter trends, and then you have your acceleration trends. And one way to know when you're in an accelerating trend is you draw 3 trend lines. And once you get into that 3rd trend line, this one isn't the best example, and I don't have one in mind right off the top of my head, but you could start drawing your trend lines as the trend starts to accelerate. And once you get that 3rd trend line, you know you are getting towards the end of at least the short-term trend, and you're probably going to get a blow-off move. And if you learn how to identify these trends, it gives you like the confidence to get out on these sharp moves up, because you know how to identify them when they come down. So if you do want to own one of these stocks for the long term, you have the confidence of knowing when to get back in. But if you guys want me to do a video on how to know what trend you're in, leave that down for me in the comments. If I get enough of them, I'll try to put together one of those videos and show you guys how to identify trends a little bit better in case you're not that good at it. But that is all I have for you guys today. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of time, so kind of had to throw this together. Hopefully you guys got some value out of it. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching my video, and until next time, take care, everybody.